I installed hidden cameras to catch my employees stealing from my warehouse. What I discovered instead shattered my marriage, exposed a secret affair, and changed everything I thought I knew about my wife. I run a small auto parts warehouse in Dayton, Ohio. Nothing fancy, just a few thousand square feet, a dozen employees, and a steady stream of orders from local mechanics and dealerships. I started it 12 years ago with a loan from my father-in-law and a lot of sweat. Back then, it was just me and a rented garage. Now we ship out hundreds of parts a week. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps me busy. About 6 months ago, I started noticing discrepancies in inventory. Nothing huge at first, just a few brake pads missing here, a couple of alternators unaccounted for there. I chalked it up to human error. Maybe someone forgot to log a shipment, maybe a box got mislabeled. But it kept happening. Every week, something didn't add up. I'd run the numbers, check the logs, ask around. Nobody saw anything. Nobody knew anything. And yet, the losses kept growing. I didn't want to accuse anyone outright. Most of my crew had been with me for years. I trusted them. But trust doesn't pay for missing inventory. So I decided to install cameras. Not the obvious kind. These were small, discreet, tucked into corners and behind shelves. I didn't tell anyone. I wanted to catch whoever was doing it without tipping them off. I set up 6 cameras in total. 2 in the main warehouse, 1 in the receiving area, 1 in the break room, and 2 in the office. The office ones were mostly for show. I didn't think anyone would be bold enough to steal from my desk. I linked all the feeds to a private server and set up motion alerts. Every night, I'd check the footage. I didn't see much at first. Just the usual, guys clocking out, grabbing coffee, moving boxes. Nothing suspicious. Then about 3 weeks in, I caught something. It was around 7:30 p.m., after hours. The warehouse was supposed to be empty. But the motion alert pinged, and I pulled up the feed. Someone was in the receiving area. I couldn't see their face clearly, but they were moving fast, checking boxes, opening drawers. I watched for 10 minutes. They didn't take anything, but they were clearly looking for something. I saved the clip and kept watching. Over the next few nights, the same person came back. Always after hours, always alone. I started to think it was one of my employees with a key. Maybe they were casing the place, waiting for the right moment. I couldn't make out their face, but something about their posture seemed familiar. I kept watching. Then one night, I got a ping from the office camera. That was unusual. Nobody ever went in there after hours. I pulled up the feed and froze. It was my wife, Emily. She was standing at my desk, going through drawers. She had a flashlight and a small bag. I watched as she opened the bottom drawer, the one where I kept petty cash and spare keys. She took out the envelope with the cash, counted it, and put it in her bag. Then she opened the file cabinet and started flipping through invoices. She didn't look rushed. She looked like she'd done it before. I didn't know what to think. At first, I thought maybe she was helping me. Maybe she needed something for taxes or was organizing paperwork. But then I remembered, I never gave her a key to the office. She wasn't supposed to be there. And she took the cash. That wasn't helping. That was stealing. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to be sure. So I kept watching. Over the next week, she came back twice. Each time, she took something, cash, a few small tools, even a box of brake pads once. I checked the logs. None of it was recorded. None of it was authorized. I started digging. I checked her phone when she was in the shower. I know that's wrong, but I had to know. There were texts to someone named T. I didn't recognize the number. The messages were vague, got it, same time tomorrow, he doesn't suspect anything. I felt sick. I copied the number and ran it through a reverse lookup. It came back to a guy named Tyler James. I didn't know him personally, but I remembered the name. He used to work for a competitor across town. Got fired for stealing inventory. I checked Emily's social media. No mention of him. But I found a few tagged photos from a wine tasting event last year. She was there with friends. Tyler was in the background of one shot, standing next to her. I didn't say anything. I just kept watching. I started recording every clip, saving every message. I wanted to have everything before I confronted her. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't even know what I wanted. Proof? Closure? Revenge? One night, I stayed late at the warehouse. I parked around the corner and waited. At 7:45, she pulled up in her car. She didn't see me. I watched as she unlocked the side door and went inside. I waited 5 minutes, then followed her in. She was in the office, counting cash. I didn't say anything. I just stood there and watched. She turned around and froze. We stared at each other for a long time. Then she said, "I can explain." I didn't let her. I just walked out. I drove home, packed a bag, and checked into a motel. I didn't call her. I didn't answer her texts. I just sat there, staring at the wall, wondering how long it had been going on. Wondering what else I didn't know. The next day, I went back to the warehouse and pulled all the footage. I cataloged everything, dates, times, items taken. I made a spreadsheet. I printed screenshots. I wanted it all laid out. I needed to see it in black and white. I called my lawyer. Told him I needed advice. He asked if I wanted to press charges. I said I didn't know. He said I had enough evidence to do it. But he also said it would get messy. Divorce, court, public records. He told me to think about what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted. I still don't. I didn't go home for 3 days. I stayed at the motel, went to work, kept my head down. Emily kept texting. She called a few times. I didn't answer. I wasn't ready. I didn't know how to talk to her without exploding. I felt betrayed, humiliated, confused. I kept replaying the footage in my head, her hands in my drawers, her calm expression, the way she moved like she'd done it 100 times. I couldn't reconcile it with the woman I married. We'd been together for 9 years. Married for 7. She helped me paint the first warehouse. She used to bring me lunch when I worked weekends. She handled the books for the first 2 years before we hired a real accountant. I thought we were solid. We had arguments, sure, but nothing major. I never suspected anything like this. On the 4th day, I went home. She was there, waiting. She looked tired. I walked past her, went to the bedroom, started packing more clothes. She followed me in and said, "Please, just listen." I didn't say anything. I just kept folding shirts. She sat on the edge of the bed and started talking. She said she was sorry. Said she didn't know how to tell me. Said it started small, just a little cash here and there when things got tight. She said Tyler was an old friend, someone she reconnected with at that wine event. She said he was struggling, needed help, and she didn't know how to say no. I asked her how long it had been going on. She said 6 months. I asked her how much she'd taken. She said she didn't know. I told her I did. I showed her the spreadsheet, the footage, the texts. She didn't deny any of it. She just cried. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I felt numb. I told her I was filing for divorce. She begged me not to. Said she'd pay it back. Said she'd go to therapy. Said she'd do anything. I told her it was too late. I moved out that night. Got a short-term lease on a 1-bedroom apartment near the warehouse. I changed the locks. Changed the passwords. Told my lawyer to start the paperwork. I didn't tell my employees what happened. Just said there'd been a breach and we were tightening security. A week later, I got a call from Tyler. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered. He said, "Look, man, I didn't mean for it to go this far." I hung up. He called again. Left a voicemail. Said he was sorry. Said he'd pay me back. I didn't respond. I gave all the footage and documentation to my lawyer. He said we could press charges against both of them. Said we had enough to make it stick. I told him I'd think about it. I didn't want to drag it out. I just wanted it over. Emily moved out 2 weeks later. She left a note. Said she was sorry again. Said she hoped I'd find peace. I didn't read the whole thing. Just threw it in a drawer. I started going to the warehouse earlier. Stayed later. I installed more cameras. Hired a new inventory manager. Started doing surprise audits. I didn't trust anyone anymore. I know that's not healthy, but I couldn't help it. Some nights, I'd sit in the office and watch old footage. Not of the theft, just regular days. Employees joking around. Emily dropping off lunch. Me working late. I'd watch and wonder when it all changed. When she stopped being my partner and started being a liability. I haven't spoken to her since the divorce finalized. That was 3 months ago. She moved to Columbus, I think. I don't know what she's doing. I don't care. The warehouse is stable now. No more missing inventory. No more surprises. I still check the cameras every night. Still get motion alerts. Most of the time it's nothing. Just a raccoon outside or a box shifting in the wind. But I check anyway. I've started seeing someone new. Her name's Rachel. She works in logistics for a shipping company. She doesn't know about Emily. Not yet. I'm not ready to talk about it. I don't know if I ever will be. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't installed those cameras. If I just kept trusting blindly. Maybe I'd still be married. Maybe I'd still be losing inventory. Maybe I'd still be living a lie. I don't regret installing them. I regret what I found. But I needed to know. I needed the truth even if it hurt. That's the thing about surveillance. You think you're watching others. But sometimes, it's your own life that gets exposed. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this.